Hello, welcome to Hack Shack Studios. RT Bear here. Yes. Just got back from the printers. Pamela and I this morning. It's been a busy day. We drove into Houston and hung out the whole morning at the print shop there. It was pretty amazing. I'm so excited. I'm going to wait for some signs of life, and then I'm going to begin the show. It's going to just be a quick update, you guys. So anybody who has backed black and white or has been thinking about backing black and white, this could be good for you because we got a lot of updates here. I got some stuff here. Let me see. I got some stuff here from the printers. Yeah, it was fantastic. They are going to do such a great job. And the great part is it's only about a 45-minute drive. It took us longer to get there today because of the traffic. There was just a wee bit of traffic. We left early, so we had the morning traffic. So, but it wasn't that bad. It's freeway close, and we hung out with everybody there. We got the whole tour of all the machines, all the different processes. We met a bunch of people. They're all fantastic, and yeah, it was just a great time. We legendarily, Pamela and I have had a lot of problems with printers in the past, and this was great because we got to meet, the guy responsible for overseeing the job, the salesperson that Pamela's been dealing with on the phone. We got to deal with the graphics people that kind of put the files together, make sure they're all working out and all in line with what the printing process is going to need. It was absolutely fantastic. So I'm gonna have to wait. There's nobody. I don't see a sign of life yet. Did I do everything right? I hope I did everything right. I never know. It's always so confusing around here. All I know is that it was a fantastic time. And Pamela and I, when we were driving back, we found this place we wanted to eat at. It's called Whiskey Cakes or Whiskey Cake. I guess it is Whiskey Cake. And had a fantastic lunch. She actually ordered a whiskey cake. I guess it's a dessert cake. And I didn't have any of it, but it was so big that we got it to go. So she had a few bites, and then we're going to have some of it later tonight. It was a great lunch. So far, man, this is one of those great days that you have, that you just you don't know it's going to be that fantastic, and then it turns out to be just a great day. Pamela and I, when we were driving there, it was agony because there's so much traffic. And living in the Woodlands here, unlike LA and California where we lived, we were used to a lot of congestion, a lot of cars, a lot of traffic. But here, there really isn't. So when we get into traffic, every once in a while, it's a little jarring. So it was a little hard on the nerves. So we were kind of like, when we were driving there, we were almost there, and we said, we're never going to make this drive again. Even if this works out great, we're never going to come down. We're never going to this facility again. And we'll just tell them it's okay. We won't even, proof the artwork, because it was kind of a drag, actually. And so when we got there, everything changed, because this guy, Jeff, who runs the place or was working with us directly, fantastic guy. He got our humor. He knows a little bit about comic books. They have printed comic books there before. And he just gave us the whole tour. So as soon as we got in, we got a sign of life. Cool. We got Lord Crackhead. What's up? We got AV8R Surge. Yes. We got Rand, Nanda. What's up? Hello. We got Praetor 7. Hey, man, what's up? The Sky. That's what's up. Oh, Pedro, I'm sorry I have not got back to you. Yesterday was not a fantastic day. Today was a good day. Yesterday was a little tough. AV8R surge. I got the notification. So you did it right. Yes. What about? Haven't seen you in a while. What about Hell Art Spirits Car? Always a party when we got some Spirits Car in here. Is it Spirits Car or Spirits Car? I don't know. Sounds decent art. Yeah, yeah, it was great. It was great. Laura, what's up? Trippy, or is it Tippy? Tippy, hail art and hail all. Yes, indeed. Good afternoon. Everybody's saying hi, which is good. Getting all social here. Getting a party. We've got Devil Flyer. Hail Pedro. Hail Art. Okay, I think we're kind of caught up here. Yeah, so we're getting a tour of all of the different aspects of how the book's going to be put together. So it started off, we got this, and for a great price. Like, we've worked with other printers where these proofs were like $300, right? This was not $300. It's here in Houston. The printing company's here in Houston. If anybody wants to know the details, I can give them. So far, so good. I'm going to wait until I get the actual book printed and in my hands before I completely sign off and tell everybody how awesome this publishing or printing company is. But once that happens, I will be giving all that information out. But at this point, I'm still going to keep it a little close to the vest because I don't want to say that they're great and then it turn out to not be the case. But these are the proofs. The only thing that we saw with the proofs was that some of the pagination was a little off, and that was it. So then we went over all that. That's why the post-its are here. So Pamela and I went over that, and so then we got the second mock-up. So they actually did two. They did two like mock-ups, and oh my gosh, look at this. Is actually digital, but the coloring on the book looks just as good. I have some of it here too. I'll show you guys. But this was more for the pagination to make sure all the pages were properly I guess in the right spot, that the margins were all perfect and everything. And so this was the copy that we brought. So this is the one that we had printed prior, and it's really good, really good stuff. And so here you guys go. This is this is the printed cover. So they gave us one of these. So let me see, make sure. So this is an uncut sheet of the cover. So this is what they look like coming off the press. This is before the lamination. So the lamination process hasn't hit these yet. So they'll be a little shinier than they are now. So yeah, this is, let me move it back here. Yeah, so this isn't even a proof sheet. This is the actual printed cover. So it's on heavier stock paper. So while we were getting the tour, these were being printed up for us. So we got that. And then here's an actual page. Well, uncut pages, I should say. So the paper's not quite as thick, so I'll have to hold it up like this. So yeah, this is the printed couple of pages, I guess. And I signed off on those while we were there. So it was really fantastic. I mean, the people were there were so informative, and they were kind. They were really nice. Like everybody we met, we talked to the manager of the facility, and we talked about shipping. So we don't have to, worry about uh, travel. I mean, it's an hour away. So as far as shipping the actual books to us, it's not going to be that big of a deal. And we've worked with overseas printers before, and things have been held up in customs and on ships, stuff like that. So it was kind of a nightmare. But so we don't see that as a problem. The only thing that we were told is that excuse me, costs are probably going to go up. So we got a really good price on this. And what I'm hoping, if Pedro's still listening, that we can wrap up that black and white high octane and get that to them, excuse me, ASAP. And maybe we can kind of lock down a good price with them. Otherwise, it'll probably go up a little bit. But all in all, I mean, it was great. I have some pictures of the facility. I'll show those off in a bit. I see some new names. We got Yellow Spider-Man, Hail. No. So there is no hearing for laminations for their women. I don't know. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I probably said something very confusing and very weird, so that's probably what you guys are riffing on. Great minds. There's a lot of great minds here, and we all think alike. Yellow Spider-Man 2 is saying, wow, I guess that's the stuff I held up. Oh, Henry Bemis. What is up? Black and White 2 is going to be so sick. Can't wait for this book. Man, the last couple days I haven't been able to focus too much on just drawing, but after this, oh my gosh, I'm so looking forward to just drawing. I'm having the time of my life, and you guys and your backing and your belief in this this project is what's given me the time to do what I think is the best work of my career, just as far as a complete story, a complete comic book. And it's because of the time. It's because of the time I have to work on it. I used to always say, it's a little graphic, but like, when you're in comics, there's always a gun to your head as far as time. So you're really always working against the clock. And not that, with Black and White, volume 2, that, I'm just kicking back and whatever, all that time is going into the book. I guess it's not compromising, it's not having to compromise, and keeping. If there's any artists out there that they'll know what I'm talking about, is like staying on a drawing or a scene until you get it right. So instead of your first draft of the idea visually, you can kind of put that aside, work on something else, and come back. And if you don't like it, maybe come up with a different approach. And so the last 2 pages, I've pretty much done that, and for the better. Like emotional stuff, I talked about a little bit on the last live stream. Just inspiration hit, so I found like a new way to approach this scene, and then there's going to be a callback to that scene that I'm working on now towards the end of the story. And like these things you can't do when you're working for Marvel and DC, when you have a schedule that's maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks long, so you kind of have to make compromises. And I like being in a place where I don't have to do that right now. So awesome. Won't be long now. I can't wait to get my copies. Still got to draw the darn thing, finish it up. But Pedro Eng says, I'm here. Yes, brother. I'll touch base with you later today. If not today, early tomorrow. Because I think all we have to do is, I think the whole book is all, you colored the whole thing. So we just have to go over the pages and with color notes. Let's see. Spike in Madness says, Bear Fish, hey Artie. Conan reference. Conan reference. Let me see. Thank you. Art, you're amazing. We're the lucky ones. No, 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 no. There isn't a day that doesn't go by that I'm not so thankful for what we've all built here with CG and beyond. Everybody that is supporting these books. Just more thanks than I can possibly give. Joe Bernard says, "Aloha, Art. The printed pages look great." Let's say, what is best in life, Art? Being healthy is best in life. Your family close. I wish my daughter was here in, Texas with us. That would be a lot better. But she's in California and she's living the high life. What's up, Art? What's up, chat? That's what Peter. That's what Peter has to say. Let's see. And we hear the laminations of the women. What is that? Laminations of the women. That is good. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, let me go here. I got some photos and I'm going to show you guys. So yeah, this is me. Right? This is like the last leg of the printer, the printing process. So this one came right off of this. So like like the thing off to, I guess, is my left, your right. There's a little door here. You can open that up and grab the pages out. And there's a tray down here that it just kind of stockpiles the pages as they come through. And so this one was literally hot off the press. Actually, this one was the first one taken. So that's the lovely Pamela. Look at her. She's so happy. Yeah, we had a great time. It's weird, like, to say you had a good time at a printer's. This facility was pretty big, too. It was not a little Kinko's. So, yeah, that's the page I just showed you guys. So I guess they run a bunch of them until they get it right. So this broke my heart to see a bunch of pages in the trash. So there's that. There's me kind of color checking. So I was checking all the pages, making sure that they looked great. And I was checking them against the original printing of black and white. So that's the Capullo version. The original main cover version is completely out of print. So we have a few more of the Capullo versions, but not very many. So yeah, so this is me going over this, and I signed it in this little corner, like, yeah, I sign off on it. And there's a better picture, I guess, more close up. Wait a minute. So here is this is where all the paper is at. Let me see if I go back. There it is on the table. Okay, there it is. Okay, so I'm proofing a little bit more here. And see, there's a little jeweler's loop or whatever they call it, so you can look close at it. So then this was like towards the end of the tour. This is where they stock all the paper. And he said, I mean, this thing goes on. It's kind of like the Indiana Jones warehouse. It goes on pretty far. And he said, this is all the paper just for the week. So this is, like I said, it goes back pretty far. So it's about 3 times the size of what you see here. And maybe I got a better picture. Let me see. Yeah, there you get to see it there. So he said all that paper will be used for this week. So these are print jobs that they have lined up. That's pretty amazing. That's high volume. There's a better picture. And which room is this? I don't know which room this was. I think it's the one where they do the, what is it called? Where they kind of crease it. They have these machines that kind of do these folds. So you can fold the binding without there's more. This is inside the building, the printing area. So this isn't the paper warehouse. So what they do is they bring the paper in from the warehouse and they put these stockpiles for the different jobs that they're going to do. So I assume this is all for just today. I think this paper is just for, and this just this room. So this isn't even all the paper for today's work. So they do quite a volume. I think our printer was in the other room. So, oh, these are the machines that do the creasing. So, yeah, these are like they look ancient. And so what they do is, see all these things on the shelf right here? Those are like little templates. Well, actually, some of them are pretty big. And they have different creasing, or like creases that they can put in different type of uh, printing. Like they can do boxes, they can do, he showed us, like, remember the old like McDonald's apple pie containers? They had printed up a bunch of those for, it wasn't for McDonald's, but it was for another company. And they showed us the template. I mean, quite complicated to create the folds and everything, to make that little pocket sleeve that they make. And then they put the apple pie inside of it. So he showed us that. And so that machine where that guy is in the back there, that's the machine that they're using right now that does those little creases. So if you guys have ever got a graphic novel, I'll show you when I go back to the camera. There's a little crease that they put in for the spine, and it helps you open the cover without like a weird funky crease that you would put in it. Like you're not really bending the paper. It folds at the little etching, which is pretty cool. So Pamela took some of these, so I don't know what this was. Just more of the facility there. There's the cover. You guys don't know how good this feels to see your stuff printed in with this level of quality. Pretty amazing. And this right here, this was cool. This was one of the plates. So they have the plates like kind of set up next to the printer. And so once they're done with the one plate that they were printing on when we were there, they replace it with this one. So each one of these plates does, what is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, does 8 pages. And then they take it over to the cutting machine, which I don't know if we got a picture of that, but they can cut like each one of these separate. And I don't know. I think he said you can do about like a 5-inch stack, maybe 6-inch stack at a time. So it's pretty cool. I took a bunch of these just so, because the lighting was weird. This is a metal print. So I guess like the CMYK picks up on all these. It knows where to put all the different colors on this plate. So it's pretty fantastic. So the whole book was right here. Well, there were some other plates that were in different parts of the by the printing machine, but this was most of them right here. So this is the printer, the machine itself. So here's one of the pages, the plates, I guess they call them. So it's like a soft metal plate. It's pretty cool. The Speedmaster. And there's another shot of it, of the plate. Here's the printer. So each one of these tower things, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Each one of those is a different color. So the CMYK is 4 colors. Well, it's actually 3 colors with black. So wow, I sound like I know what I'm talking about, which I still don't. So I forgot this guy's name, but this guy was hooking us up. I think his name was David or Dave. So I made good friends with all these guys, man. So this guy right here was so conscientious. He was listening to everything we had to say, taking it all in consideration. And when I signed off on it, he was like, "Oh man, thank you." He was really relieved because he really wanted to make sure that it was a premier print job. And so yeah, it goes like, it starts over here on the far right. And so then it goes through each one of these towers, and each one of those is a color. And I think the last one is black. So this last one is black. And then it goes through like a little conveyor belt here. This long thing is the conveyor belt. And then this very end over on the far left, that's that little box where Pamela and I were in front of holding up the page. That's where they all stockpile. And right here on the bottom, there's like this little shelf you can see. It's like as it gets weighted, it starts dropping down so they can pull the stuff out from the bottom here. Pretty cool. And you can see the plates leaning up against the printer there that I was taking the pictures from. Absolutely fantastic. And it wasn't that noisy. I thought it'd be really, really noisy, but it wasn't. Oh, there's a Coke. Let me see it. I think I got all of them. Yeah, make sure all the pictures. I can go back to that one. Well, I'll just come back. This is getting weird. Yeah. So just fantastic. And so I don't know if you can see this, but there's there you can kind of see it over here. There's a crease right here. And watch when I open up the cover. I'll do it this way. See how it folds? Like right in here. I mean, that's what that machine does. And it puts it on both sides here. And that's what gives this kind of the spine. So you can kind of open it up like a bird. Like this. And you can see how it's done. There's so much to this. I had no idea because I was just, well, they just print it up, right? There's production. So they take my files, they make sure that it all lines up with the printing format. And I got to meet that guy too. Was it Jay? He lived in Northern California. So we hung out with him. He's a great guy. We talked to him for a while, and so I got a one-on-one, relationship now with him, so I can give him a call. We can work things out in the future, and so that was really good to put a face, to the name, and also just to know that I can contact him because I think it was Pete Sametti said the salespeople are okay, but what the relationship you really want is with the actual workers, the people that are printing. The artisans, those guys. So Pamela's better with names, but I think it was Dave and Jay. So Dave is the printer and Jay is the production guy. Jeff was the main guy we were talking to. And so with the black and white high octane, I already have a relationship with them. I already talked to them about the production on that. That's going to be a saddle stitch book. It's 22 pages. It's going to have a hard cover like this one, and it's going to be laminated as well. But it's going to be a saddle stitch, which means it's going to have staples in it. And that's going to be 22 pages. So it's not going to be quite as involved as this. And so then, we met him. Like I said, we met the printer. We got to meet the people that are responsible for the shipping. Just everybody. We got to meet the guy that does the little folds and stuff like that. So there's quite a bit more to putting one of these books together than I thought. So sometimes it seems a little expensive. It seems like, well, it's just printing, right? Like how hard could it be? There's a lot of work. There's also there's this other room that we didn't get a picture of. They were working their asses off. They assemble the books. So there's that's just the printing of each one of these pages. But then they got to cut the books, the pages, and then they have to install all those things and they have to put them all in order. So there's a certain way that they get the pages, the printed pages after they've been cut. And there's like this, like assembler. I guess it has the different pages and different levels to it. And those, I guess they just grab the pages and put them in. And then they glue them into the spine right here. So there's just a lot to it. And one of the things we talked about On the main book itself, the black and white main book is going to have UV coating on it. So that was one of our stretch goals that we did, and so I talked to them briefly about that. And we did like UV on one of the art books, the Oodles of Doodles books, and we were dealing with this company called Asia Korea, which they did a great job, but there was a little bit of a language barrier there. So when they were trying to explain the UV coating and what we had to do as far as production on it, um, it wasn't that easy. It was hard. So I think it took poor Taylor and I. Taylor had a lot of patience putting it together. Taylor Grasso, and I think we did it 3 different times before they approved it, because it was just we couldn't really get past the language barrier. So we eventually got that ironed out. So we shouldn't have those communication problems with moving forward with the new printer here, because I'd like to have them do all the books. So I'm really, really hoping that this book comes out fantastic, which it looks like it's going to, and then we can move forward on those other books. And I know that some of the other comic skaters have asked me about them, and as soon as I have like the thumbs up on the production and the printing, I'll give those names out of the printer and stuff. They're here in Houston, so it's really cool. So let me see. Oh, okay. Thanks, Jeff. Woo. See, Jeff doesn't like it when I'm in the dark there, when I'm struggling. You're killing me, Smalls. Crom. We saw a business called Crom. I asked Pamela, like, what does Crom mean? I know it's like in Conan, it's their god or something, right? Um, but I didn't know if it had a meaning outside of the um, the Howard novels. I'll tell Pamela you said that. Full body RT. Yeah. Yay, Pamela. Those are some sexy looking pages. Well, you're next, Pedro. You're gonna get the hookup, man. I can't wait for that. So yeah, we're not going to wait till the last minute on this. So we're going to start getting production things done as we get it completed versus waiting till the end. And so, the bottom line is to try to get all of this stuff done as quickly as we can to get it to you guys in a timely fashion. Just always keep in mind, I don't really have to say this because you guys know and you're very patient, but none of this exists prior. So we're making all this stuff as we go along. And so stretch goals, all these different production, like working with different vendors and stuff like that. Like we got embroidered patches, we have trading cards, we have stickers, we have t-shirts, we have quite a bit. So we're working with a lot of different vendors and trying to, get a good price and a good quality and done in a timely fashion. So that's what we're doing now. So that's mostly being done with, by Pamela at this point. And so it gives me time to draw. But at some point, I'm going to have to start doing some layouts for like the trading cards. And I think the sticker we already have. I think Shay, Red Valkyrie, already did a design. I think it was done for one of the t-shirt designs. I have to look at it, make sure it's high res. But if it is, then that's done. And then putting the trading cards together and stuff like that. I think I might look for a graphic designer on some of it, because like the High Octane book, I need to do the front inside cover. I can do the paste up for the cover, and I can do design work just like thumbnails. But putting stuff together, I don't really. I'm okay in Photoshop, but just as far as like typeset and putting not logos, but just like a credit page, like doing stuff like this and a credit page. it's that's beyond me. I mean, I could probably do it, but it would take more time than it would be worth. So I'm gonna see if maybe Eric Weathers can do it, and if not, if there's anybody that knows somebody or that can do it. Oh, you know what? I know who I can get. I can get Steve. Steve, the real Steve Dye. Yeah. What is if cannibals is legalized on the federal level, printers need to start growing hemp for paper. Oh, cannabis. Cannibals. Cannabis is legalized on a federal level. Printers need to start growing hemp for paper production again. Well, somebody need to do something because no shit, that Jeff, he didn't talk to me about it, but he talked to Pamela that I think the paper prices are going to go up and there might be some shortages. Jeff made it seem like there's no problem yet, but that there may be some problems down the line. So let me see what Spirits Car says again. All on this cannabis and this hemp. If your comic book were printed on hemp paper art, after I read it, I could just roll it up and smoke it. That's what you call a win-win. You could buy one that you could smoke and one that you could collect. Well, one that you could read and smoke, and then one you could collect. Or you could burn one while you're reading the other so you can get high. Why? Die? The real Steve Die. Yes. Let me see. Wow. Spears car. I'd keep those plates if, ooh, that's a collectible. If ever there was one. Oh, shit. That's a pretty killer idea. Jeff was already pretty hip to the collectible market. He goes, you know what? These sheets that I'm giving you right now are probably collectibles. And I was like, I never thought about that. I said, if I see any of these up on eBay, Jeff, I know who to come after. What is this? Green. Green is supposed to be really quick. I don't know what green is. Green paper? Green hemp? What are you guys talking about? Julie Pascal. I bet it's fun for people working there to have a graphic novel because most of what they print is probably really boring. Yeah, they were pretty excited. They were asking about comic books, and some of them knew. Like I said that I had worked on Superman, and they said I said the death of Superman, and then one of them like Doomsday, right? That's the guy who kills Superman. I go, yeah. So they knew some stuff. I guess there are some local comic book artists. They were bringing up their names, but I didn't recognize them. So I think they're more from the indie, like small indie press, and I think they've had books done there before. Let me see. Oh, we got Johnny Rando. Can't wait for Black and White 2. Everything looks great. Everything does look great. Like I said, man, it's one of those things like you don't know how much stress, like how much worry is there until it's gone. You know what I mean? Like I think Pamela feels the same way. Once we saw this stuff all printed up and everything, we were like, wow, this is really working. So we were like, oh man, we're really relaxed. And so we were driving home and we were just like, let's just take a different route than we usually do. And we did. And there's this place called Whiskey Cakes. And we went in there and we ate our little hearts out to celebrate. And a friend of Pamela that she goes to church with is feeling better as well. So that was good news. And I have a good friend I asked you guys to well wish and pray for. So she's going to be released from the hospital. It's my friend's wife, and she's doing a lot better, man. They weren't sure she was going to make it. So things, like last week and earlier this week, it was pretty stressful times. It is quite a process. It really is. Wall hanger pages. I did that before. I used to, like, in the old image days when I get those proofs and things like that. I still have most of them. Um, I don't know. I cherish all that stuff, like all these books here and stuff like that. I'm gonna keep them, like all these like proofs. This and this one here, especially this one is all stapled and everything. So I guess this is what the saddle stitch will look like. So I wonder if they crease this slightly. It doesn't look like it. Looks like they just fold it. Let me see. Praetor 7, were you required to meet anyone and tour the printers, or did you request to? I think he volunteered it. So what we wanted to do, this has been a long time coming, you guys. So this is the realization of a dream and desire for a while, is to find a local printer. So in California, Pamela just scoured just to try to find a local printer. And there were a lot of small printers like Quickie Print and things like that, but nothing that could really do a comic book. Like they said that they could do it, but they'd have to ship it out or whatever. And so we never went with that. And then I think Chung Lee had found one in LA. But even LA it's actually more of a drive from where we were than driving into Houston, because I think to drive into LA is like a 2-hour drive. Like it can be a while, to get depending on traffic. So here it's closer, and I don't I forget how it worked out with Chung Lee, but I don't think he was very impressed by the facility. So it never went any further, because I was going to go down with him, and then something happened, so he just went down. And then I think that he just couldn't recommend it, so that never happened. So yeah, Pamela just kept looking, never found any place, and so since we've been here, she's been looking different printing places and things like that, and finally found this company. They do great stuff. So yeah, I think it's one of those things that just happened. So Pamela's saying that we live close by, and then I think maybe I asked if we could see the printing process, and so then when we got down there, he showed us the whole layout, and also it kind of served two purposes. When we got there, the cover was printed up, so that was already done. But then, so I looked at that; it looked great. I signed off on it, so they didn't have to tweak anything. And so then, while we were getting the tour, they were setting up the process for the interiors. So all the covers were printed in the time that we were there. So I think the print runs like 2,500, something like that. So all those books the covers were printed up while we were there. And so then by the time we got the tour and came back, they were already printing the interior pages, which is the 4 or the 8 that I showed you here. So those were coming off the press by the time we got back, and they look great. And then I signed off on that, and then we kind of wrapped it up and went and got whiskey cakes and celebrated. Yes, Art. We've seen stock footage of printing presses on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and the Reading Rainbow. I never saw those. I was too old, man. You must be a youngster. I don't even think Mr. Rogers or the Reading Rainbow was around when I was a kid. Is it normal to do that? I don't know. I don't know if it's normal or not. The best person, if you ever want to talk printing, is talk to Pete Samedi. And Peter's like, get a relationship with the printer and the production department. So those are the guys that if you have any problems, if you can get a relationship, you can call them directly, and they're the ones that can take care of the problem. The salespeople, the people that set things up, they really can't. And that was very apparent with the trouble that Pamela and I had in the past, especially on Chrono Mechanics. Oh my gosh, that was a nightmare. So yeah, so I think he was also saying if you could go there, not just have a relationship over the phone, but talk to them directly, see the facilities, all that stuff, then one, they know who you are and they know that you live close. So they're probably less likely to get like phone in a print job because they know that you're going to be right there. And I can't really answer if it's normal, but for Pamela and I moving forward, it's going to be our normal as long as they'll let us, go there and do this stuff. And I think they like it because they can do it faster because at the end of the day, actually, they're probably done with the entire print run. So the book is printed right now. Like I bet you all the covers are printed. We already knew that before we left. And then all, 56 pages or whatever it is are all printed up as well. So, I would say probably by mid next week, if they keep working on it the way they have been, they'll probably be done with the book. If not sooner, I don't know how. I mean, we didn't ask them because we're not really in a hurry right now to get the books back. And now that I think about it, I got to clean that garage. I got 2,500 books coming on pallets. And also, we have all the Gemini mailers and all the stuff, the packing materials and stuff we already have in the garage. So just got to kind of keep it all focused and keep it all in an area. Also, I'm hoping that they'll let me have the pallet because I want to make sure the books are all off the ground. If not, I'm gonna have to. Oh no. When we had the Gemini mailers, I asked the guy if I could have one of those pallets, and he gave it to me. So I have a pallet just in the garage right now. If indeed I need one. It is pretty cool. I'm one of those geeks that likes to see how things are manufactured anyways. There was a show, I forget what it was called, but they would show how things were made. And I watched one episode. It was just how they make copper tubing. And I was like, holy shit, that's interesting. I like machines. I like how those things are you put together because it kind of boggles your mind how they do it. And not just like a one-off, but how they can do it, all day long, and they can make each one just as perfect as the one before. It's pretty amazing. I don't know who Rogers is. Rogers went through. Oh, Mr. Rogers, he did a book. He did a book? Check your messenger. I will, my friend. Yeah, Joe's always sends us the professional stuff. And he's got some brilliant black and white pieces of artwork, which that's another thing. The trading card. I got a couple more pieces of artwork from you guys. Thank you, and I'm going to be asking for high res soon, so I'll have a file set up, and then I can get those in and put them all in one place. Let's legalize cannibalism while we're at it. It always comes down to drugs. Isn't burning books illegal? Man, I'm way behind in this chat. How many passes? It's only one pass, but like I showed you the printer, there's like 4 towers. So each one of those towers prints that color. So by the time it goes through that whole printer, it's a finished page. So they're not kind of, I guess, repassing it. So I'm not really sure how to answer the question. So there's 4 different colors. And so each one of those towers is, I guess, a pass. I'm not really sure what the terminology that they use. So I would say it's 4 passes, but it's all on the same machine and it's all in one shot. So I think each one of those towers has a roll with a plate in it. Boom, that color. Boom, the next color. Boom, the next color, and then boom, the black, and then it goes along that little drying period, and then it sets at the end there. You could also sell digital files as NFTs. Who is JK? I have no idea how those work. Yeah, Zach Bradley, who did one of the black and white trading cards for the Second Chance. He's really good. He's got that book, the graphic novel Goma, and he's a comic skater, and he lives close by, and he's heavy into NFTs right now and all the cryptocurrency. So I think once a lot of the heavy lifting's done, on the book, I'll probably look into that. But by the time I do, it'll probably be a moot point. Man, you guys are still on hemp. Thank you. I do appreciate that. It is no joke, and we lived in. It's kind of Orange County. It's a community called Corona, so it's right outside of Anaheim Hills in Yorba Linda. And the 91 freeway, when we moved out there, it was probably like 25, 26 years, maybe longer. There was no traffic out there. When we left, it was bumper to bumper almost any time of day. Yeah, it was. It really was. Pizza Medi. Hey, it's a Pizza Medi. If he wanted me to, I would try to help, but I think Cecil's got it under control. Oh, that show was called How Is Made? Called How Is Made. Yeah. Oh, wait. Have you met Steven Silver? Yeah, Steven and I we're well. I haven't been to California in a while, but he's really good. He's when I was working on Chrono Mechanics, and I was doing working kind of trying to get some animation things going. He was kind of my mentor, so I would see him quite a bit. And I was hired to design a show for Warner Brothers, and I remember talking to him about that. And he said, if you're going to do design work for animation, you have to make sure that you know many styles. Otherwise, you're not going to get any work. And to me, I never was looking at it as like someplace I was going to stay for very long anyway. I was just flattered that an art director at Warner Brothers, production designer, thought enough of the work that I was bringing in to ask me to do it. So it was just that one show. And so, and I think I do have a quote. I have a quote. I got some quotes from animation people on Chrono Mechanics. So I believe he was one of the guys that did a quote for the book. So I got like Bill Ray did one. I got Steven Silver. Walter Simonson did one. I just got all kinds of different people. I actually got one from Doug TenNapel too. Doug and I were kind of tight around that time as well. So Doug was also a bit of a mentor as far as doing cartoon books and pitching animation shows. So yeah, Steven's a good guy. I remember we would just bump into each other constantly. And so I remember I went and I had to bring something in, or I was pitching something at Nickelodeon. And so he had there's like an art department. It's kind of, it's an open art department, like cubicles. and then there's kind of like glassed in offices, but they have a big piece of glass, like you can see inside, so there's no hiding. And so he had a setup in one of those rooms. I guess it's more soundproof and maybe a little bit more private. And so I remember hanging out with him there. I forget what show he was working on, but he's a good guy, very generous with his knowledge and his time. I think he's got. Does he have a twin brother? I think he's got a twin brother. I'm not sure if I met him. I think I did. I've worked with printers before while I worked for MGM, and the printer looks top, and that printer looks top pretty good. They should have that done in a couple of days from where you said they were in the printing. Yeah, but I was thinking today is Thursday, so I didn't want to say at the end of the week, but maybe. Last week's professional was really cool, interesting to learn new artists. Yeah, like sometimes those like the topics seem like I wasn't that interested in the topic, to be honest. But then when we start talking, you realize it's a really good topic, and also just hanging out with those guys. They're just a fountain of knowledge, and they brought a lot of like new artists that I had never heard of before. That I'm a fan of now. Will Cecil fulfilling his book be the first honest work of his life? I have no idea. It might. Art, is there going to be a Chrono Mechanics 2? Yes, it's in the back of my brain all the time. Oh, JK stands for just kidding. Okay. Yeah, it's always there at the back of my mind. And I think what I'm going to do with Chrono is I'll work with a writer. I'm going to have to work with a writer, and we'll craft the story. And then what I think I'm going to do is layouts. I just love the layout process. And there's a few people I've been thinking of working with on Chrono as far as drawing it, and I might ink it. So I think to do multiple projects, I'm going to have to stop being as hands-on as I am now. Otherwise, it's just going to take a little bit more time than I want it to, and that way I can get books to you guys quicker, and I can get some of these ideas out of my brain. When am I going to do another drum solo? I don't know. I was talking to Pedro, and Pedro's got a way to mic the drums and to have it come directly through the computer. So all that ambient noise and all that, I can do away with that, and you'll be able to hear the sound better because the drums are loud, and these microphones, the stuff here, it's not set up for that. It distorts. Travis says, Tom Bancroft, Steven Silver, I respect all those guys who did a quote for your book. Oh, so you saw it. Yeah. Tom Bancroft. I'm going to talk to Tom as well. I'm going to touch base with him. He probably already knows this, but the Daily Wire, I'm going to put a pitch together for them as well. They're talking about doing some kids programming and animation. So they said they have $100 million allocated. That can get eaten up really, really quick when you're doing animation, but it's a start. Excuse me. Tom is a really good guy. His brother, Tony Bancroft, super cool as well. It's neat to hang out with both those guys at the same time. They're twin brothers. I can tell them apart, but they have completely different personalities. It's pretty interesting. I try to be able to do multiple styles of art, but nothing is as fun as you draw. Fun to draw as my 90s style. Yeah, I like it too. It's a lot of fun. Oh, here you go. Yeah, their podcast is a lot of fun. They get a lot of heavy hitters, man. They've had Glenn Keane. They've had a bunch of old Disney animators. Bob Newfart, greatest name in Comicsgate. Artie. Todd, what's up, man? We got to get you back on Pontificators. It would be great to chat with you on that. Indeedy do. Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, there's a guy named Chris Saunders, and I think I have an unpublished quote by him too for Chrono. He liked Chrono Mechanics as well. Like a lot of animation guys liked that book. I didn't get a lot of comic book support, but I got a lot of animation support. Yeah, it's a real personal style. But what I'm thinking is if I do the layouts, then the storytelling, like, because there's a lot of visual gags in that, and there's a lot of humor just in the drawing. So I could do the layouts, and then I could get somebody to maybe do breakdowns. It doesn't even have to be finishes, and like finished pencils, and then I can come in and draw, like kind of ink it in that style. I've done stuff like this before, like many times over my career, and so then I could kind of bring my style over those pencils. So then basically the end process should look the same. It all depends on the penciler that I can get, because what I'm hoping is that they can emulate that style relatively close, and then when I go to ink it, I can slightly tweak it here or there to kind of get the characters on model and to get all the rendering and the stylizations into the artwork. But I appreciate it, and to be honest, I mean, I would love to do all of this stuff, and I might end up doing it that way. It's just that it takes a little bit more time, and yeah, I the only problem with time is like I don't mind as long as you guys don't mind, but I also there's part of me that wants to get in and get this stuff in front of people to kind of keep that CG energy moving. You know what I mean? Like to keep like to contribute to that forward momentum and keep things moving. That if you just kind of have one project, then it's kind of like you take time just talking about the one thing versus many uh projects that you're working on and stuff like that. So I don't know if it gets boring for you guys or not. That I guess that's my big fear, and my fears of stagnation, like, because it does take a while to do these projects, and it would be nice if I could kind of have some of them overlap a little bit, but really this is just a two-person operation. It's Pamela and myself. And I think that working with Pedro and Von Klaus on that black and white high octane book definitely helped, because my trust level has gone up. Most of the time when I work with other people, it's kind of disappointing. They either don't come through with it, or there's a lot of inconsistencies in the work, just stuff like that. But Von Klaus has been nothing but professional. And Pedro, oh my gosh, just like stepping it up each and every time. So that's kind of given me a little bit more faith moving forward, working with different people. Maybe I'm just a control freak. I don't know. So let me see. Joe says, man, it's really dry. So that advice you had for animation pitches, did it make you come up with your style for Chrono Mechanics? Did you decide to make the designs more simplistic? How did you come up with that style? It was to be honest, it must have just always been chambered. It was always there. And so a friend of mine, a studio buddy, his name's Eric Benson. When we would be working on like books for Marvel and DC, we would just talk about stuff. There's you're drawing, you're inking, you're doing whatever, and there's hours. So you listen to music, you talk, things like that. So we started just talking about like, well, what if we did our own books? Like, what would that be? And so I always liked characters that become other characters, like Captain Marvel, like a character that he's a little boy and then becomes this like Superman. That stuff's cool to me. There was a toy when I was growing up. It's called Captain Action, and it was like a GI Joe action figure that could be any superhero. So they had the DC Marvel licenses. They had what is it? What is that called? It's like the King Syndicate or whatever characters. So they had like Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon. They had Green Hornet. They had Lone Ranger, Tonto, um, and then they had the DC characters and the Marvel characters. And so the idea was there were costumes and masks and stuff, and you could turn these guys into any hero you wanted. And so I was a young enough kid when those things came out that it made an impression on me. And so just some of these ideas were just rattling around, and I always liked like just characters that became heroes that were like the unsung heroes. They were just like people that help other people but never really get accolades for it. They never get a lot of like hurrahs or anything like that. They're just kind of there, they do their job, and then they just go home. Like to me, I think construction guys that fix the road, or when a power line goes down, they make sure your power is still there. All these things, like people that work on your car, keep machinery working, all this stuff. My dad, worked at a shipyard in Long Beach, and I'd go down there and hang out with him every once in a while, and just he was a boiler maker, insulator by trade, but we get to see all those guys working on those ships. These were like destroyers, flat tops. This was probably every naval ship known to man had gone through that port there. And so I always, then I always see my dad come home, and he just a normal guy, but he kept these warships going, him and all the crew of guys that would repair these ships and keep them going. And he'd come up, his hands would be cut up, his arms, he'd be exhausted, carrying all this insulation and stuff like that. And I went with him one time. These guys, they had like these little catwalks, in these boiler rooms, like this. Sometimes they're just makeshift boards. These guys are carrying equipment and supplies over beams like this wide. And if they fell, they would die. They'd fall in these boilers, or just fall, like 100 feet to their death or whatever it was. I mean, these are big ships. And so the only reason I say it is because my uncle, who worked there as well, he did fall. He didn't die, thank goodness, but he was crippled, and he was never able to work a job again. He had to retire right after that. Good thing it was for the government and stuff like that, so he did pretty well. But if not, man, I don't know what they would have done. And so I was just thinking, like, what if you had like just this person that went in and did these things, and you never knew that they even did them, but they were universe saving deeds, right? Like every time they did something, it would change or fix the course of history, but you would never know it. And so there was a little Men in Black, in there as well. I didn't realize a lot of these things until later, and some of these were pointed out. When you go pitch these things, a lot of people get critical, and they explain stuff, like, oh, well, it's kind of like this or kind of like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't see it at the time, but and so those were kind of the basic ideas. And so at first they were going to be kind of like heroes, like kind of like superheroes. But then I was like, well, what if they're just working class guys? Maybe with like exceptional backgrounds. So so they weren't just, they were kind of working Joes. Their job was they were working Joes. But the reason they got those jobs is because they were they were a little bit more evolved than the average person, right? So like Oot is a caveman, he's a prehistoric caveman. And let me get one of the books so you guys can see what I'm talking about, just in case you don't know. Yeah, I got a book right here. So I think this is the image version, and so here it is right here. So there's the back. There's what they look like in their alter egos. It's not just an adventure; it's their job. And so Eric and I started kind of working on it and putting some visuals, but it was kind of a casual thing. So then Eric left the studio, and so I still kind of had those ideas, floating around. And so then Fox has this Picturama, or they had, and it was for like new animation shows and stuff. So I had just lost my job at Marvel. And so I wasn't keen on comic books. Like, I had been devastated by them. I was fired and asked or told that I would never work there again. And so, I just kind of said, F it. I'm going to put some time in developing some of these ideas that I have. And so as I was getting serious with it, that's this version. So this version right here of Chrono is what came out of that. They were called, at first they were called time. They were called quantum. It was called Quantum Mechanics, is what it was called. So, so it wasn't Chrono. It was Quantum. And so then I just kind of started developing. I started thinking about like my dad, working class guy, and I think I always liked time. I worked on this book called Time Masters for DC, and I always liked time travel stories. So then it became like about time. And then just the question came up. It's like, well, what if time was the big machine? Like, you always hear time machine. There's the H.G. Wells time machine. So what if you play on that, like, time itself is an actual time machine? It's a huge machine that regulates all time and timelines. What if that was built into the very fabric of the universe when it was formed? Not just universe, but universes. Like, this machine is massive. And so it was built, forever ago. And so it's a machine, it would break down. So what if there was a company that was a repair company? They had to maintain and they had to repair this big machine. And so that's kind of where these ideas came from. I don't know exactly like where anything comes from. It's just one idea leads to another, and then it kind of evolves into something. So then about that time, I had more of these visuals that I had come up with. And so that Fox Picturama opportunity came. I think my agent or somebody told me about it. So I was like, I'm a comic book guy. What if I did the Picturama for Fox as a comic book, not as like an animation pitch? And to be honest, I didn't even know how to put an animation pitch together at the time. So I did it more as like character sheets and a comic book. So it was I think it was an 8-page comic book that kind of explained the concept. And I did that. I put it together, and that was my Fox Picturama. And so, excuse me, they passed on it, but I liked the experience so much. And I was, quite frankly, a little bit bent out of shape with Marvel, and I didn't really want to go back to comic books, but I still loved comic books. So I just started developing it as a comic book, and that's what this was. So that's what this became, was just, I just put it together. The story was a stream of consciousness. It wasn't plotted out like beginning, middle, and end. I kind of had a loose idea of where it was going to go, but not really how to get there. And so one of the things I always liked artist wise was Mobius. And so his airtight garage was done as a stream of consciousness. He didn't really know where everything was going to go. And so that's kind of how I approached this. And I did it more or less just for myself. I didn't do it thinking I was going to get rich off of it, or that I was going to find a publisher or anything like that. I just kind of put it together. And as I was moving forward on it, it was coming out pretty good and I liked it. So then I went over and talked to Eric Stevenson over at Image Comics, and we set up a deal. So, that's kind of the Chrono thing. And then when this book came out, I was kind of hanging out with more animation people at the time. And so then they started giving me feedback and like, this would be a great video game. This would be a great cartoon show. And so then I just started pitching it after that. Oh, I remember there was another publication. I think that 8 pages was used in later as well. And it was called Comics Works or something like that. It was Shannon, I forget his last name, but it was his publishing company. And that's right, he had some animation ties. That's right. So I published that story, that 8 pages that I pitched to Fox. I let him have those 8 pages. He published those. And oh my gosh, what is her name now? She's married to one of the action, what are they called? Action Men or something like that. They did the Ben 10. They came up with Ben 10, that group of guys. Megan Casey, Joe Casey's wife. And so she was working at Kids WB. And so this was at a convention. I think it was San Diego Comic-Con. I had a booth, I had a table. And so Shannon told her, like, she was looking at the book and she liked what she saw. And so Shannon sent her over to my table. And so we hung out. And she said, you should come by and pitch this. She goes, I like it. I'm intrigued by it. And so that show, we had that as a like just to go in that direction. And then there was an animation studio in Canada. I forget the guy's name now, but he wanted to handle the animation. So I kind of already had an animation company that could do the work and a studio that could air it. So that was kind of my introduction to, the Hollywood stuff, pitching cartoon shows, things like that. So like I said, I really didn't want to get back into comic books. So I talked to Pamela and she said, well, we have a good nest egg here. We got some savings. We'll finance this stuff. So just start working on these IPs, these ideas. We'll put as many as we can get together. We'll spend about 2 years doing this. We have about 2 years worth of income that we can actually finance this. So for about 2 years, Pamela and I were just financing, coming up with ideas, which was a great time. It was just a freeing time just to come up with ideas and concepts. But it was a little trying as well because, it gets a little tense when there's no money coming in, and we still had a little one. Amanda was still young. So it was a little tough. But the good thing about CG is it's kind of the same thing, but we have producers. So you guys, man, there's a lot of light coming through that window. You guys are kind of working as producers, which gives us the time to develop the stuff. And trust me, coming from a guy that basically paid for it himself, I really appreciate everything that you guys have done. Spirit Scar says, offerings, Chrono Mechanics, unique stories. Okay, Chrono Mechanics is the favorite book for me from your CG offerings art. Chrono Mechanics is of the most unique stories and original writing in CG. I believe that title will grow. Oh my gosh, Thank you so much. Wow, that was really kind. Thank you. I'll tell Pamela that one as well. I think black and white will be that as well, but black and white is kind of it's a little more character driven. I mean, there's a lot of character in Chrono as well because that's what Pamela and I do. Like we're character creators. You know what I mean? Like plots are okay, but the characters have to be real. And so we both like humor and over the top stuff. So Chrono Mechanics is definitely in our wheelhouse. So black and white is kind of like it's taking a little bit more time to establish the world, the characters, things like that. So I think what's going to happen with black and white is that the world and the universe that they live in is going to take a little bit more time to evolve. Where Chrono, you're just thrown right in there. And the reason you can do that with Chrono is it's a cartoon book. So you can take broader leaps of logic with it. Even though we tried to keep it not grounded, but we tried to keep the parameters of the universe very tight. So we worked within those parameters. But once they were established, then you could kind of, once you know time is a big machine and that there are repairmen that repair time, that's it, right? Then everything else is just the adventure of them repairing time. And then there's character beats that come out of that. Black and white is a little bit more like in depth. There's a lot more reality to it. There's a lot more character development. And the world, the first two graphic novels, volume 1 and volume 2, aren't really focused on the world per se, even though by volume 2 you're going to get to see it escalate, but you still don't get to see the world. We're still kind of in China and we're still kind of in a tight space. Like what I wanted to do with black and white is like Big Trouble in Little China, right? There's this epic storyline that's happening, but it's all in Little Chinatown. It's all in this smaller area. So basically, black and white volume 1 was the brewery, and then it was this warehouse. And so in volume 2 there's going to be like 2 or 3 locations as well, so it stays pretty self-contained in that. And the reason I did that is because like with black and white, a lot of the things that we're dealing with are like world altering. They're big scale stuff, and it's more in a realistic manner. So it just kind of will evolve in a different manner than Chrono did. And I think that Chrono was just more of a condensed story. And I do believe by volume 2, you guys you're going to love these characters, all 4 of the main characters. You're going to love the villain too. 2, you're going to understand the villain. You're going to understand his motivations more, and you're going to see how what this character is doing will affect the world at large. So we kind of give you a little tease in the first volume, but in volume 2 you're going to get to see what that really entails. So it's going to get pretty epic, the ideas of like what could happen if these heroes don't stop this little thing that's happening here. So if they don't take care of this problem, we're doomed. You know what I mean? So I like stories that are like that too. Like they can potentially become epic if that one part of time isn't taken care of. You know what I mean? If this moment isn't handled correctly, then the shit's going to hit the fan. And I like those because quite frankly, I'm sick of the big epic Lord of the Rings battles and all that stuff. Like they sound good. It's a great selling point. Like, Avengers Assemble, like, these big epic universe battles and stuff like that. But to be quite honest, once you see 10 minutes of it or you see a movie with it, it's done because there's not really much heart or character that comes out of that because the scale is so big that you don't have time to make it more character. And so I like to tell character stories. So I want to put the heroes or the characters that I'm using to tell the story. I want to keep that controlled. You know what I mean? I don't want the plot to override the character. And that's not easy to do, especially when you're telling kind of like pseudo spy stories, because spy stories are almost all plot. Like that's why like James Bond works, because you don't really get into backstory, you don't get into character, you don't get into too much of that stuff, because the plots are so heavy. Because everything you're looking at is like double agent stuff, or it's not quite what it seems. You know what I mean? So there's all this subterfuge and there's all these things happening, and that takes time. And usually that's plot time. And then that plot time takes away from character time. So if you can have a hero that everybody likes, but you don't really have to get into too much character, you can tell really good spy stories. I can go way more into detail on that, but I hope you guys kind of know where I'm coming from there. So we're hearing some possible subconscious influence for the idea of chrono mechanics. Now, interesting. Yeah, there's just a lot. I think what probably the fundamental aspects is my father. It's kind of an ode to working class heroes and characters like, Captain Action or Shazam. No pun intended. No pun. I like puns. Hey, what's up? I'm going to start closing down soon. I got to get back to work. What? Oot was the original shop steward. Really? Oot is my caveman. And actually, Oot was named by Amanda, our daughter. So we said, what would be cool? She was probably around 5 or 6, maybe 7. I think 7 because 7 pops up a lot in the book. So she said Oot, and I said, if Oot had a wife, what would her name be? And she said Lemmy. So it was Oot and Lemmy, and then all of their kids are just like their little Oots. So that was a George Foreman joke. So it's just like Oot 1, Oot 2, Oot 3. Let me see. Yes, keep drawing always. It keeps me going, man. Keeps me, getting up every day and doing stuff. Time is a big concept, but writing it as the everyday man, dealing with it's fun. Yeah. Also, one of the things, and it blew the executives, the animation executives' mind, is when I said there are rules to the time travel, but if it's funny, we're going to break them. And they were like, no, there's got to be set rules. You got to have these set rules. And I said, not really. I mean, one of the rules is like, like if you go back in time, you can't interact with anybody or you can't change anything. Well, what if they do? That would be a story, right? What if they do? What if what they're not supposed to do, they do? What if the rules that are set up, they break the rules, or whatever these things are. I said that's the fun of time travel is also, it's like the Pandora's box. It's like, well, you're not supposed to do that, but they did it anyway. Those are fun stories. And so I tried to pitch it that way. I still don't think they got it. Most of the reply, as far as the pitches for Chrono, where time travel doesn't work. And like, so they were throwing all kinds of, wow, I got like a frog in my throat. They were throwing out all kinds of reasons why it wouldn't work. And for every one of their reasons, this is where I'm pretty contrary. I can think on the fly pretty good with this stuff. Is for every one that they said wouldn't work, I said one that did. So I said, so we're at a stalemate. So we're at a 50-50. So there's 50% chance that this thing could fly. And so they were like, I guess. I don't think they liked me very much. There was this woman at Nickelodeon. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. Claudia Spinelli. And she was, I was supposed to meet with somebody else and he couldn't meet with me. And so she was his assistant. She came in. And so she had read a lot of the stuff because we would send the pitches prior so then we could kind of be on the same page during the meeting. And so then she was telling me all these reasons why it wouldn't work. And so she said that she only had like 20 minutes, a half hour, then she had a lunch meeting. She ended up talking to me for about an hour and a half. And so for everything that she said, I gave a reason why it would work. And I don't think she liked me because I just wasn't giving her anything. And so then I talked to my agent afterwards, and I thought I was pretty proud of myself. And he said, they have to say something. So just go, okay. And then just kind of walk away or say thank you, for your time and walk away. And that's one way to handle it. But to be honest, excuse me, I'm glad I did do what I did and stood my ground because I didn't want anybody thinking like that it wasn't going to work. You know what I mean? So at least I said my piece. So I gave her and other people that I pitched to reasons why it would work. I remember there was this guy, this was years ago, Pamela and I, for Black and White, this is in 94, 95, we had a licensing deal and we were with, was it CA? I forget what, was it William Morris agency, not Philip Morris, but William Morris. And so we had great representation. And so we're pitching to an animation company. And we were talking to the head guy, man. We were talking to the head guy. And they were doing the animated Zorro adventures. This is obviously like mid-90s, right? And so he's telling me, he's looking at the comic and he's looking at the characters, like they use guns. And I said, yeah, but they're non-lethal. Everything's non-lethal. I thought it would be fun to show that we could use guns and kind of keep it, PC, for kids. And so he's like, yeah, he goes, guns just don't work. And I was like, well, why don't they work? He said, they don't animate right. And I said, why can't you animate a gun? And so then he was telling me like just stupid reasons why he couldn't. And I said, there's all kinds of John Woo movies, with guys with two guns jumping and doing all this great stuff. I said, why couldn't you just break down a John Woo movie and just look at the gunplay in the John Woo film? This is obviously before Matrix and all that other stuff. Why couldn't you take the gunplay from those movies and just, you could trace them or use them as inspiration? He goes, nah, because they just don't work. And so then he walked away. And like I said, I feel bad at first, like, oh man, I stepped on this guy's toes. But then walking away and then having perspective, it's like, what he was really saying is that he couldn't do it. He couldn't make it work, but not that it wouldn't work, And so sometimes these guys talk like that. And I'm just kind of glad that I don't give them that. You know what I mean? Like, I still stand my ground. Have they ever met Doc Brown? Not yet. What does HS Studios stand for? A Hack Shack Studio. So it's HSS. So out of all the studios in the 90s, I can honestly say, there were probably studios before that, but in that time, there was only one. And the first one was Hack Shack Studios. So before there was Extreme, before there was Homage, before there was Top Cow, before there was any of those things, there was Hack Shack Studios. So I had already had that going, and so I and my studio were doing a lot of work with Jim Lee and Will Spataccio, and we did stuff for Scott Williams too when Scott couldn't make deadlines. So some of the guys that worked there would do their backgrounds or help out, in an unofficial way. And so when we were like communicating back and forth, we did a lot of fax machining. And so I came up with a fax machine title head. I think that's what they call it. And it said Hack Shack Studios. There was like a logo or whatever that I drew up. And I sent that with, the fax to Jim or Will's. I think it was Will's. And so then I get back a fax that says Homage Studios, and it had a Will's drawing along with it. I wish I still had that stuff. And so they came up with the studio after I did. And so I remember talking, I think Jim, it was about that same time, might have been even that same day. And he goes, Hack Shack Studios. He said, you know what a hack is, right? And I said, yeah. And then he still felt the need to tell me, he's like, hack is like somebody does bad work. They don't do good work in the industry. And I said, yeah, I know. I said, it's kind of a joke. It's Hack Shack Studios. So it's like the shack, which is also, we weren't working out of a shack. We had a nice facility. We were working out an office, and we weren't hacks. So we were the direct opposite of what the name was. And I said, I thought it was kind of funny. That was interesting. So it's like a non-pretentious, like you're saying, like we're just like this humble, stupid studio, right? But that does great work. You know what I mean? So that was kind of always the idea behind it. And so then he went the direct opposite with Homage. So Homage was like, it was very, kind of pretentious. It was kind of like, oh, we're paying homage to comics, that type of thing. And that's just kind of how that all came about. So that was like the HS is Hack Shack. So then when I started trying to become more legit, I still had the name stuck. So then Alan Martinez, he was going to college at the time, and he was working at Hack Shack, and he was studying art, and he had a design class. And so he's the one, he just came up with the HS Studios based on my really bad drawing of Hack Shack. So mine was kind of like the HS with a pin in, like a pin nib and stuff like that. And so then he just went to town and he completely legitimized it. So then I was just thinking, I think he had one that was spelt out, Hack Shack Studios. And then we decided, let's just do HS because it looks more respectful, just HS Studios. And then if anybody asks, you can explain it, but it looks a little more legit. So thanks for asking. I found your channel and Chrono because of Andy Smith. I was looking for your normal art style, but there was something charming about Chrono. I can give it to my 10-year-old. Yeah, I always thought like Chrono was kind of like old Looney Tunes, where there was some stuff in there that kind of was a little edgy, that would go over kids' heads, that adults would enjoy. So there's not a lot of like really overt like adult humor in there, but there is some in there, and I do believe like for most kids it would go right over their heads. So you pretty much have already for a Daily Wire pitch. Is there anything you want to update or improve? I don't think so. I think I'll send the same one, and I'm going to talk to Tom Bancroft, and I'm sure he already knows about it, but just kind of get his feedback. He's a little bit more plugged into that part of the industry. Hat Shack. No, it's no hat shack. Pale Rider, what's up? Okay, let's see. Thanks, Past Master, for putting the links in the description or in the chat here. I appreciate it. Oh, let's see. Some person, a reminder for this Saturday on Red Valkyrie. There's an auction for original CG art, creator art. There'll be 3 times 11 to 4 and 9 to and 9 Eastern. 18 comic artists, original comic art. Sweet. Oh, each schedule has 6 artists. Okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really like telling stories. I don't know if I'm any good at it, but I really enjoy it, and I do study storytelling. I would never say that I'm a writer. Um, I'm more of a storyteller. Because like with Chrono, I didn't write anything out. I just drew it all out. So I just kind of draw layouts and then kind of storytell that way. Time travel doesn't work. What do you call Doctor Who transcending generations? People still love Bill and Ted. Yeah, and there's Back to the Future. There's Terminator. There are a bunch of stuff that works. Yeah. I think there was one animated cartoon show. Oh, what was it called? I forget what it was called. And it was a time travel story, and I think it had just been canceled. So it was fresh on all those Hollywood execs' brains. So that's all they saw. That's great. I like that. All right, let's see. Anti-gun agenda. I don't have an anti-gun agenda, to be honest. I think everybody should have a gun. I think it's a good thing. I just um I just like the Green Hornet. So the Green Hornet had gas guns, and most of the heroes that I liked, they didn't kill. So I thought that, if you had a spy, like an ex spy, you know what? I'm gonna close this window shade. That light's a little too bright. If you had an ex spy, like what would be the determining factor why they would leave, you know, um, the organization? And one of them, well, now I'm in the shade. And so one of the ideas was like, what if, assassination had just lost its charm? What if you've seen, a lot of really bad things done, with firearms? So it's not a statement I'm making. It's more of character. So the character has lost his taste for it. So Reed Blackett is the guy that's doing it, not me. So I don't have any grand you know, uh, type of ideas. It's just a character beat. And it mostly just comes from I think the reason the Batman character is so amazing is because he doesn't kill. The reason I don't like the Punisher is because he does. I like that Batman still believes in the law. He works with the Gotham PD. So I like that. And I like that the Green Hornet used non-lethal as well. And I also thought just as an aside, is that if you were a vigilante and you started killing people, I don't think society would take too kindly to that. Even if, these were really bad people, society as a whole would just go, well, there was no due process. How do we know if they were bad? You just killed them. They never got to say their piece. There was never any kind of way to prove your point, So I do think that the Punisher is a little bit wish fulfillment, because with the Punisher, you have to be very careful with storytelling. You have to say, you have to see the crime, and you have to know that that crime was heinous, and the worst, and this guy was the worst offender, for the Punisher to kill that guy, right? Because that's the only way it works. If there's a gray area involved, then the Punisher doesn't look like a hero, so you have to be real careful the way you construct those stories. And also, I don't think those type of characters would work in those universes. Like in a pocket universe, the Punisher could work if there were no other superheroes. But if there were other superheroes in that universe, the Punisher would be taken down. He would make every one of them look bad. Hey, what's up? Miriam's in the house. Let's see. The Bean Pad says corporate suits always want to appear as if they have input to justify their input. If other tunes had gunplay, exactly, it could go. That's the frustrating part about when you pitch. And I had a partner, and he was kind of like the machine gun kind of way of doing things. Like he was just like, let's come up with a bunch of pitches and just keep taking meetings and see what sticks, right? So we'll just keep doing this. And I was like, I'm not like that. I'm a heart and soul guy. Like when I come up with a concept, it means something to me. Like it's not just a superficial thing. Like if somebody did want to make it, I want to make sure that it is good. It is everything I want it to be. It is everything I want it to say. At least as long as it's in my hands, you know what I mean? And so we used to get into kind of some heated discussions because he was just like, we'll make a billion different IPs. And we made a lot, but I thought that each one of them were quality, and each one of those ideas I could stand behind. And there was a friend of ours that we met along the lines, and that's what he did. He just came up with concepts after concept after concept. And I was just like, I just don't want to do that. I don't want to be a slave to the process, because one of the things, once you start pitching, you start meeting people, executives and stuff. And so then they start keying you into what's testing well, right? So this is testing well, this isn't testing well, blah, blah, blah. So we start getting on the inside, like, shows like this are testing well. Maybe you should come up with a concept like this. And so I did, and it was still the same process. Nothing really came of it. Actually, it's funny because the person that was telling us that, they said what's testing well is our heroes that had multiple abilities. So one hero that could do many things, run fast, was super strong, and could use a bow and arrow or whatever it was. And so I came up with an idea called Kid Everything. So it was for young kids, and it was a hero that could do anything, but he was a kid. So they also want, like, that was the beginning of like kid-centric ideas, like it's so absurd now that it's like everything's tailored to a certain type of audience. But I think that was kind of the beginning of it. So cartoon shows kind of had to have kids in them. And so the idea was that there was like a group of heroes. They were like the Justice League. And so they were trapped. They couldn't get out. And it looked desperate, like they weren't going to make it, right? And so one of the characters was able to synthesize all their abilities into like a power beam, right? And so they could get the power beam outside of the place that they were trapped, but they couldn't leave. And so the idea was that it would find its rightful heir, right, to their powers. And so then I guess, I don't remember the story, all the details, but I guess they passed away. The villain, did its deed or whatever. And so this beam came out. So we're at a schoolyard, and this bully is giving this other kid a wedgie. And so he's giving this kid, he's just wreaking havoc on this kid. And so then the beam comes flying around just as the bully throws the kid aside. So the beam was meant for the kid getting the wedgie, not for the bully. So the bully gets hit with the beam. So then we have a situation now that the kid that was supposed to get it, he saw all this too, by the way. And so he understands that the other kid doesn't. So then the bully and who was supposed to be the hero end up having to work together for the greater good. So it's kind of like the villain and the hero working together for the greater good. So the little kid that didn't get the power has to mentor and show this other guy how everything works. So he's basically a puppet. The bully is a puppet for the other kid. And so that was kind of the idea. We pitched it, and the executive loved it, loved the idea. Oh, this is so funny. While we're at the meeting, right, there's these drawings coming across the table, like her assistant is bringing stuff in, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, those are really good. Those are really good. And then I was like, that looks familiar too. And I don't know for sure, but I think those were Duncan Rouleau drawings. And if you guys know Ben 10 and you know like older comics, Duncan Rouleau, he's just a great comic book artist. He did a great Metal Men run, and one of my favorites. And I got to work with him in the day. And so I'm seeing this stuff go over the table, and I'm like, what is this? But they're all like these monsters and stuff, but there's like a reoccurring like thematic visual to them. Like each one of them has like a certain like shirt on or like something that always looks the same. I was like, wow. And so then maybe a year later, I'm watching cartoons with Amanda, and Ben 10 comes up, and I'm like, holy shit, that's that idea. A character that can become has many other abilities and many other powers. So that was another way that you could take that same kind of thing that was testing well. So I always just kind of think that was it was just interesting to see. And also, I've been kind of vague with the executive, but it was also Megan Casey. And so Joe Casey is one of those Men of Action. That's their production company. And Joe Casey, Steve Seagal, Duncan Rouleau, I think there's 5 of them. They all work together in their Men of Action studios. And so they're the ones that did it. And I was like, oh man. Let's see. Do you think Batman plays such an emphasis on Zorro being tied to his origin in order to deflect Batman being a blatant knockoff of the Shadow? Maybe. I do think that like Batman is an amalgam of a lot of different things, though. Yeah, I don't think it's just the one. Yeah, I think the biggest parallel with Zorro and Batman is that he's a rich guy that by day is like this rich philanthropist, whatever. And then by night, he's the man in black that goes out and fights crime. Let me see. I like the thought of Reed Blackett is a 00 agent who is tired of what he has seen, but not a whiner like Craig Bond. I picture Reed as the actor who played the new Steve McGarrett in Hawaii Five-0. Was that any good? I remember seeing the advertisements for it, but I never saw it. I'll look up that guy. Always the best theme song for a TV show. Hey, Jason, what's up, man? Miss you on the pontificators. Well, this is going a lot longer than I had anticipated. Always fun to hang out with you guys. You guys are the best. Go back, Black and White. It is in the description. There is a link there. Click on it. If there's something you see, back it. Working on it every day. Just also know that This book right here is being printed up as we speak, and more good stuff to follow. So you guys take care. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you tonight on Graham Nolan's channel for the professionals. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for the hang. Take care.